In this video, I want to give you a very specific protocol for using isometric when it comes to healing tennis elbow or lateral epicondylitis. I've been on a big kick with isometrics lately, and using isometrics for tennis elbow is something I've been doing for a long time, and more evidence comes out that isometrics is a great way to heal this often very troublesome area to heal. So let's talk just a little bit about what tennis elbow is and why it's difficult to heal in the first place. So if we bring up the anatomy here, hopefully you can see with not too much glare, is this area right here where it's white on the outside of the elbow. It's white and not red because there's not a whole lot of blood supply there, or it's just a more fibrous area of the muscle. And it's the tendinous part of the muscle, not the muscle belly, okay? So when you have an injury to this, when it's inflamed, that's tendinitis. When it actually has a little bit of degeneration in there, that's tendinosis. And either one of those things can be very painful. Tendinosis is worse and harder to heal, but tendinitis can be a lot of trouble too. So when you have an area that is not healing, the thing is how do you get it to heal, okay? And that's sort of the issue with tennis elbow. It's like if you're using your hand to grip or do anything, you're activating those muscles a little bit, and it's aggravated and it just stays aggravated. And if you try to play tennis, obviously, or anything that involves a lot of gripping, because a lot of people who have tennis elbow don't play tennis at all, it continues to be painful and troublesome to heal. And a lot of times with certain tendinitises or things, if you just rest it a little bit, it'll heal, but because of where this area is, it doesn't, okay? So how isometrics work basically is if the area that in a tendon, such as your elbow, if that area, not the whole thing is damaged, it's just part of it, that's the part that's injured. The other part kind of will do the work and the other part doesn't. And why that's a problem, so just meaning like if you were to basically do like what I mean by that, if you do like a wrist extension like this, up and down, the part that is healthy will do all the work, right? And this doesn't really get you over the top to getting better. So part of healing is actually getting tension through the part of the elbow or part of the tendon that is affected, okay? And when you just do a move like that, the part that's healthy does all the work, and the part that you need to heal really doesn't do anything. And so when you have tension through a tendon, that helps it. We won't get into too much nitty gritty here, but just trust me on this, like tension through the tendon in a controlled way will get some proliferation of some properties and some things that happen in the body to help heal that tendon, okay? And that's kind of what we're looking to do. So isometrics help this in that the part of the tendon that is healthy basically works the initial part of the hold, right? If we're holding an isometric, it means an isometric means you're not contracting, you're just holding a contraction. Or you're not doing a moving contraction, it's just a static contraction. Then the part of the muscle tendon that is healthy will basically get worn out, will stop working and need some help from the part that's not healthy, and that's what will help it heal, okay? So this works really well in the elbow. The hard part of figuring out the dosage of this or like what the protocol is depends on how inflamed your elbow is, okay? So if you're watching this and you're like, dude, I can't even, because this is what patients have told me, I'll reach to change the radio on my car dashboard and my elbow hurts. Or I go to pick up my coffee cup and that little squeeze, just enough pressure to actually hold a coffee cup to take a drink, that hurts my elbow. Those people are pretty inflamed, right? Or even if maybe you have pain at night, right? And you're just laying in bed and you feel it, okay? So for someone who has that amount of pain, if that's you, right, where it's really inflamed, like it's painful to touch on the outside of the elbow, and you're feeling it with barely any wrist movement, even if you make a fist, coffee cup, change the radio, that stuff, then you're gonna wanna start with a really low weight. This is 3 pounds. You probably wanna start with just 1 pound. And the protocol for being in that level of pain is going to be short, a fairly short duration of about 30 seconds. So let's say you just have a 1 pound weight, right? Sometimes I have people use hold a can of soup, like a skinny can of soup, to just provide a little bit of resistance. You want to rest your arm on a table like this so just your wrist is hanging off. You want your wrist to be flat, and you don't want to be gripping this hard, right? You just want to be able to hold on to it with your fingers. And then what you're going to do is I want you to do a 30-second hold and then about 1 minute off, and you'll do that 5 reps, okay? 5 rounds is what I like to have people do. Now, the amount of discomfort you should feel here, I would say is about a 2 out of 10, right? So I know, I hate it when people use these 2 to 3, 4 out of 10 number scales. It's hard to actually determine what. But I would say you don't want it to hurt much. You just want to feel like something's happening. And you might, and with this, you might not actually feel it happening until the second or third round, right? Like if you grab the 3 pound weight and hold your wrist out there and immediately it starts hurting after about 20 seconds, then you're probably holding too much weight, okay? So you want to decrease the weight. So if it's really painful, just start with 1 pound, hold it for 30 seconds, give it a minute break, and repeat that 5 times. And remember, 2 out of 10 pain is good. You actually want to feel like a little something is happening. If you're holding it there for a whole minute and you don't feel like anything's happening, then you probably need to increase the weight a little bit. Now, if your tennis elbow isn't that bad, meaning like maybe you don't feel it with just picking up a coffee cup, but let's say you go to get a jug of milk out of the refrigerator, or you go to lift up a weight at the gym and you feel it, it doesn't make you have to put it down, but you're like, oh man, I can't believe I just felt that. Like I just got some, pitcher out of the refrigerator. A lot of people tell me actually if they have people like to use iron skillets, right? They grip that, that's kind of heavy. They'll feel it with that. So if it's that kind of pain, meaning like it's not super bad, but you're feeling it with gripping heavy stuff, then you want to do a little bit of a heavier weight and a little bit of a longer duration hold. I have found, even though a lot of the research shows like a 30-second hold is good enough, and it might be, I found that a minute works a little bit better. So for that one, if the person doesn't feel it, it's not super painful, but just kind of in the middle, not super irritated, and then holding a 3 pound weight. And again, I don't grip the weight. You're just wrapping your fingers around it so that you're able to hold it, but you're not gripping, making sure the wrist is flat, not like this, wrist flat. And then I would hold for a minute. And you'll know you're doing it right if at first you're like, oh, this is easy, I could probably do it more or longer. But then about 40, 45 seconds in, it starts to feel a little heavy and you're like, okay, yeah, I feel it. Yep, it's doing something. That's that like 2 out of 10 pain that I'm looking for, okay? We just feel like a little bit of something's happening. And by the time you do that 1 minute on, and then I like to, again, still stick to that 1 minute rest. You could do it a minute and a half if you wanted to, or even up to 2, but that 1 minute on, 1 minute off, 5 rounds. By the time you're done with that, you shouldn't feel like it's increased your pain, but you should definitely feel like you've done some work there, okay? So those I say would be like the two protocols that I like for elbow pain in most people where they're having some tendonitis or some tendinosis, where if it's really acute, you're having a lot of pain just with everyday tasks, then just start with a really lightweight, 30 seconds on, a minute off, 5 times. If you're sort of in the middle there, you actually have to grip something pretty hard to feel it, but you still feel it. And it's maybe keeping you from doing some exercises that use heavier weights, then use the heavier weight and a longer hold, 1 minute on, 1 minute off, 5 rounds. Now, every now and then I'll get a guy in, it's usually a guy who's pretty strong, He's doing a lot of pull-ups, a lot of overhead weightlifting, a lot of grips, usually using kettlebell. And they're having a little bit of tennis elbow here, a little bit of inflammation there, but it's not too bad. I usually find that even like a 5-pound weight isn't always enough to get a little bit of activation of some healing there. So another way that you can do this is use a fairly heavy band. You'd actually step on it, right, with your other foot, and then really try to bring it up, so that it's fairly tight, right? And then really hold it tight like that, okay? Somebody who's really strong, they have enough other muscles kicking in to help out that it doesn't isolate it well enough. It takes something to overload it a little bit more, I have found. And again, same thing applies. Try to at least hold it for 30 seconds if you can do it for a minute. And again, what you're looking for, and kind of what you're looking for determines the protocol, as you can see, but I'm giving you basically what I found to work best. But what you're looking for is that 2 out of 10 pain. You don't want it to be super painful. It should feel like something's been happening there, but not so much that you feel like, oh, the next day after doing that, my pain was way worse, okay? So if you're someone, if you are experiencing some tennis elbow, go ahead and give these isometric protocols a try. I think it will help quite a bit, especially if you've been doing stuff that's like wrist curls and things like that and haven't tried isometrics yet. I think it'll help a ton. Another thing we do for this is dry needling, helps quite a bit. Dry needling sort of the same effect a little bit in that we're getting in there, we're kind of causing a change in the tissue, in the tendon, at least that's the theory, and that's proliferating some healing there. So give these a try. Let me know if you've had tennis elbow and you've tried these and they've worked, or if there's a protocol that you've used in the past and you think that works even better. I'd like to know what that is too, because everybody's different. So hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, reach out and we'll talk to you again soon.